patience. Why do we care about patience? Patience isn't something that's fun. Patience is hard. We often try to rush things. And the reason that we try to rush things is because we don't have the sustaining power to stay in the difficult time, because we don't have enough attention to the reason and the purpose and to why we're being there. We're ultimately not patient because we're disconnected.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Roethlingshoefer, and it is so great to be back here with you. If this is your first time here, I really encourage you guys to go check a look at some of the other episodes that have been out. We're nearing 200 episodes now, and there's been a lot of amazing guests, and not only amazing guests, but also people that have just brought words and wisdom that I think will really fill you up and allow you to lean into what your God-given calling is. We talk a lot about ownership on this podcast. Obviously, being the Own It Show, it goes without saying. However, what is ownership? What does that mean? What does a life in ownership look like? How do we lean into that when we really maybe haven't been living there for a long time, and there's maybe a life of excuses, a life of blaming, a life of trauma, a life of hurt, and we haven't really leaned into realize what our calling is yet, or realize what that true life of fulfillment feels like. And that's what a life of ownership is. By definition, ownership is taking responsibility with accountability. And when we're able to put that into place, I think creating perspective shifts that a lot of our guests and a lot of the lessons that we've kind of gone through with this on, and a lot of the testimonies that have been there, we know that when we hear people's testimony, it gives us hope of what's on the horizon for us and where we can go into. And so I really encourage you to listen to the other episodes that have been through here, like them, share them, leave a review. That's how we reach more people. That's how we're able to create real change. And so before we dive in today, I just want you guys to know that I'm here for you in any way, shape, or form that I can be a blessing to you, or that our team can be a blessing to you. Please let me know so that we can, again, make sure that we give you every opportunity to realize a gifting that you've ultimately been called to. So today is a solo cast. I love these because it's an opportunity for me to really share my heart. And the more that I get connected, the more that I'm able to share things really authentically. And today I'm really being called to share just about patience. And somebody's like, I guarantee you out there, somebody's like, patience. Why do we care about patience? Patience isn't something that's fun. Patience is hard. And I was sitting in the sauna this morning with Rich Wilkerson. If you don't follow Rich Wilkerson, go look up Rich Wilkerson, at Rich Wilkerson Jr. I believe he's the lead pastor, and really founded VU Church down here in Miami, and was sitting in the sauna with him and Manning Sumner. Manning started a business called Legacy down here in Miami. Another great guy to follow. I was on his podcast not too long ago. But as we were sitting and talking about patience, talking about wanting something too quickly, it really got me thinking about how we often try to rush things. And the reason that we try to rush things is because we don't have the sustaining power to stay in the difficult time, because we don't have enough attention to the reason and the purpose and to why we're being there. I'll give you an example. So for me, as I was continuing to go into these fitness competitions like High Rocks and DECA, a lot of time I would beg for the season to be over. I couldn't wait until the competition time was done, or the North American Championships or the World Championships were here, because I could ultimately be done with it. And it wasn't that the journey was hard. I don't mind doing hard things. I've trained myself to actually lean into hard things and love difficult things, because the more we can get out of our comfort zone, the better we can ultimately lead into and develop who we are meant to be. But what I started to find was that my purpose for engaging in this practice, the reason that I was engaging in these races continually and all the time and going to these things, it wasn't for a purpose that was connected to a spiritual calling, something that was my reason for doing this. It was for recognition. It was for fame. It was for acceptance, all things in which caused me to want to rush the process, to want to go fast, to want to make it be done and be over with. And it causes me to question how many of us feel like that in our everyday lives. How many of us started the business because we wanted the monetary gain that came from it, but we weren't willing to have the staying power to really stay in it because that's really not what we were truly called to? Or we're in a relationship where we've been leaning into this relationship and we've been just wanting to rush through everything and not enjoy it because it's really just what we're supposed to do and not what we're really being called to. Or how many of us have done that in even our fitness routines, is that we added the cold plunge, we added the sauna, we added the intermittent fasting and all of these things, but yet we can't wait for the moment to be done, even though we've been on it for maybe 2, 3, 4 months, because it's not really tied to anything that's helping us towards that deeper calling of why we're there. We're ultimately not patient because we're disconnected. And when we all of a sudden become really patient, it's only because we've been connected. And I'll give you another story. When Elise and I first met, we met at a pool down in the middle of Florida. And right away I knew, I heard God speak to me, said, that's your woman. That's her. Seize this, take advantage of this. I've brought you two together. And so I jumped out of the pool, we started a conversation, and the rest is kind of history. But when I say the rest is history, there was almost 2.5 years of long distance that went in there. And a lot of the conversation from Elise at the very beginning was, I don't want to get married. This isn't something that I want to seek out. This is not something that I have really ever thought or sought for myself. And for me, my answer was always the same. My answer was that's okay. I'll wait. That's all right. I'll be patient. And as I found myself saying that, I was like, I am not usually a patient person. Patience is not a virtue that comes easily to me. But all of a sudden, when I knew that it was connected to the calling of where I was supposed to go, I was as patient as the patience was something that just came easy. And the same thing is for us, can be attached to every aspect of our life. And so I want you to sit there and I want you to think to yourself, where are you needing patience today? Where are you needing to have a little bit more acceptance of where you're at, knowing that that's not ultimately where you're going? Where you're going is far beyond that. But it's going to require patience to get there. It's going to require you to be patient to get there. It's going to require you knowing that every single moment that you are taking a step forward is taking a step forward. And it might take 100 of those steps. It might take 1,000 of those steps. And that's okay, because what's waiting on the other side is ultimately where you want to be. And guess what? Where you get to on the other side is not the end. Because I know oftentimes when we're starting something, we think, oh, I just need to get there. I just need to get there. But guess what? As soon as you get there, there is always somewhere else to go. And if you're not tied to a deeper calling and a deeper reason and a deeper purpose as to why, and listening to that inner calling, which is why coming out, again, in my new book, Holy Health, we talk about this. You need to attach to the spirit. You need to connect to the spirit first. And when you connect to the spirit, it renews your mind, renews the way you think, renews the thoughts and beliefs, which ultimately purifies your hearts and creates this emotional steadfastness, if that's a word, but allows you to stand firm on what that calling is so that you can ultimately realize everything inside of your body. You can realize it in reality. You can be there for the long run with your habits and behaviors that will ultimately allow that thing to manifest. But if we're disconnected from the spirit and we take a bottom-up approach, we're like, oh, I'm gonna engage in this relationship because it feels good right now. Or, oh, I'm going to go and start this exercise routine because I want the 6-pack abs. Or, oh, I'm going to start this business because I want the money that comes along with it. We're not going to have the staying power. We're not going to have the sustaining power. We're not going to have the longevity that is required to truly realize the full outcome. And so I want you guys to step away from this. I want you to take away from this 2 things. Number 1 is, are you connected? Are you connected to what that calling is? Are you connected to what's purposeful and meaningful? And being connected is a major part of ownership. That's taking responsibility. And then secondly, where is your patience in the domains of your life? Patience in your relationship, patience in yourself, patience in your health, patience in your finances, patience in your business, patience in your family. Where are you lacking patience? And when you find yourself lacking patience, I want you to come back to this. And I want you to ask again, where am I disconnected in this domain? What am I wanting to rush through? What am I wanting to get to? And why am I wanting to get there? And when you can figure that out, we can ultimately backpedal and figure out, okay, what do I need to get reconnected to? What do I need to recommit to so that I can have the staying power, the sustaining power, and the patience that will ultimately allow it to come true and allow me to realize what is already prepared for me. Guys, as you go forward this week, I'm really excited about just this whole concept of what's going to be birthed out of this. And a life of ownership is fun. A life of ownership is something that allows you to lean in a powerful way, but we have to own it. We have to truly own what is there and what's already prepared for us, because we know success is different. In order to realize success, we have to live different, think different, and feel different. So own your different. And we'll see you guys next week.